This is the last part, part 4 in the 4-part series about one variable statistics. In this part we're looking at frequency and cumulative frequency diagrams. In order to do this, we're going to have to edit the data that we've entered, or I should say enter additional data. So in list 2, what I'm going to write is not this list of data that we had, these 15 data points from list 1, but the data points without any repeats. And I'm going to put them in order because I did that when I wrote the list without the repeats. So you should pause for a moment and write the list without repeats for yourself, and then come back and we'll enter the data here. So here's the data without any repeats. So there's only 11 entries in this list, right? Because we had all those repeats. But when we enter the data like this, we've lost the fact that there are in fact 2 2s and 2 8s and so on. So we have to put that in somewhere. Specifically, we're going to put that in for list 3. So there were 2 2s, 1 4, 2 8s, and so on. Okay? So pause again and finish this table. Okay, now you've unpaused and you've got your data. Let's make sure we agree. I've got 1s for 9, 10, and 13. There were 2 14s, however, 1 15, 2 17s, an 18, and a single 19. So you should check that that column of frequencies adds up to 15, the number of original data points. The next thing we're going to do is make a diagram that shows these frequencies, a frequency diagram. So let's go back to stat plots, which is again second y equals. Edit that first one, so hit enter. We want the same type. It's still a kind of a bar graph, right? But we want to change x list and frequency. So the x list, we've now got our data in list 2. But we've got to tell the calculator that the frequency, the number of times each number shows up, is not just 1 for each one, but is stored in list 3. So you can see the graph over here. I'm going to hit graph again and take a look at this. Now this is still every 2. Right? So I'm going to change the window. And I'm still going from 0 to 20, but I'm going to use an x scale of 1. So you can see it change. If I hit graph, you can see there are 2 2s, 1 4, 2 8s, a 9, a 10, and so on. That is the frequency diagram. Next, we're going to do a cumulative frequency diagram. So we need to go back to the lists and enter a column for the cumulative frequencies. So I'm going to hit stat and edit. So it seems like our lists are full. However, if we scroll to the right, we press right, there are more columns. So we've got list 4 here, which we can use. here we're going to put the cumulative frequencies. I'll start them 2, 3, 5. You should pause right now and finish filling that out. Okay, you've unpaused. Let's finish filling this out. 6, 7, 8, 10, 'And the last number should, of course, be the same number as you've got data points, just like the sum of the previous column. So let's do one last thing. Let's change that stat plot. Let's change that frequency diagram here to a cumulative frequency diagram. In order to do that, we have to go back to the stat plot, second y equals, enter to edit it. We want the same type. We've got, in fact, the same x data, but our frequencies are different. We're not just using the frequencies, we're using the cumulative frequencies, which we've got stored in list 4. So L4. Let's go back to the graph. And something a little bit wrong with this. Think for a moment about what that might be. Looks like they go off the screen to the top, which should make sense because previously the biggest frequency we had was 2, but now it goes all the way up to 15. So let's change the window. Let's change that y maximum. So it's not just 4. Let's go all the way up. And let's go to 16 just so we have a little extra space. And I'm going to go by 2s. And there is the cumulative frequency diagram. And that is the end of the 4-part series about single variable statistics.